All hits all the time. Star 98.3, 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, 7:08. Good morning, everybody. Look, we got guests in the studio.
We do indeed. Sheriff Mike Evans from the Calvert County Sheriff's Office. Also, Assistant Sheriff Dave McDowell. He's in here with us as well. And talking a little bit to start off the conversation. First of all, thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning, yes.
School safety, and we were talking off air in Calvert County. Recently, there was an issue with Patuxent High School. Is that correct?
Yes.
A bunch of parents called. We, got information from, people who were concerned about it. What happened with that situation, Mike?
There was some type of rumor on the bus with allegedly what some child said. We got to the scene very quickly and got to the parents and the child that allegedly made this threat. It was verified there was no threat. We tried to notify the parents about that, but they still insisted on taking their kids out of school that day, which I can't stop them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we look at these things and we get to them real quickly and try to verify if it's a real or allegation.
Right.
And this was absolutely nothing being said.
How often do you get these calls of threats against schools? I mean, do you find an uptick in the last 2 weeks after what happened in Florida, or is this something that you see, on a regular basis?
I don't think we've had one since then, that incident, and that was. I would say a couple times a month you might get some kid that says something and we follow up really quickly with our school resource officers and also with the Board of Education.
Okay. So, Sheriff Evans, I know you've been watching this like everybody has. The situation out in Florida, everybody is screaming and yelling about we need this law, we need that law. I don't really know what to do, but from a law enforcement standpoint, you guys are watching this. Do you see any changes coming down the pipe that's going to make the situation better for you guys? You guys are the ones that have to deal with it.
Right.
In the national dialogue that's taking place, are you hearing anything you're like, yeah, that's what we need to be doing?
Well, we're going to meet in Annapolis on the 21st and 22nd of March, I think it is, with all across the state with other ideas. Mm-hmm. But we're training in the academy, Southern Maryland Criminal Justice Academy. Mm-hmm. Deputies know that they want to wait for someone else to get there before they go in. But if they arrive on the scene of an active shooter and hear gunfire, they go in by themselves.
Which is what everybody's talking about with this guy that was down there, the resource officer that was on scene. He says now that he thought the shooter was outside. I don't know if that really holds water. But given that scenario, you're there on scene, you're law enforcement, there's something going on inside. The rule would be to go in, yeah?
Absolutely.
And that's the way the Calvert County Sheriff's officers are trained.
They're trained there, and they're trained in the Criminal Justice Academy of Southern Maryland.
To go in.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. And I'm just curious on, just as being a parent, if you came to my house and said, listen, your kid, made a threat against the school.
Which is entirely possible.
I hope not. Please, don't put that out there. What are the parents? What do they say? Are they mortified? Are they like, not my kid? Do you get a bunch? I mean, what is your...
I mean, from my understanding, most of the time, they're pretty cooperative. They want to know what.
Right.
Yeah,
what exactly was said, how it was said. What.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, we've had a couple of parents that says, I think one time last year, I'm getting a lawyer, but most of them are pretty open to getting the facts out.
Right.
I don't think it was said in that context or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them have proved to be not serious. There have been cases where some of the children have been taken for an emergency evaluation, those type of things, and some have been charged with disruption of school activities.
And let me ask you this, too, because this is another thing, and we had talked about it earlier this morning. And, I hate to put it all on Sheriff Israel down there in Florida. And comparing your office with his office, it's not a fair comparison. It's not. But you guys, you have homes that you go to on a regular basis. Every county, every jurisdiction, they have a family that is a problem family. But what do you do if you're getting a call to go? In the last 10 years, there is a family, and you're going to that house on a regular basis. What options do you have? Did this sheriff's office have any options to them? Because everybody's saying they dropped the ball 50 times in 10 years.
I can't speak to the specifics because I really don't know. But
sure,
we have alerts on houses. We've gone to these houses before, whether it's been for shots fired or domestic abuse. We have alerts saying, or someone owns a gun at that house or have registered weapons. We have alerts that pop up when the deputies are going to the scene or the troopers are going to the scene. So absolutely, if there's, it's kind of like the thing. My dad told me he was a police officer. He's locked up people. I've locked up their sons, and then my sons are locking up their sons. So
Right,
It's
right.
a family business.
Right.
it's the same kind of neighborhood sometimes. But
But you can't do anything unless they actually break the law. You can't. I mean, is that because
It's a
why
fine-
would
it's a
you
fine
be,
line.
Why would you be called 50 times and this kid is still out? That's what I'm getting to. You say that social services, the police force, they've been called to this home 50 times. They had to have known something was wrong with this kid. You guys can't do anything until a law is broken?
there's a lot of times when, and sometimes we stretch it, when there's these are need for a medical evaluation.
Right.
When the parameters are met, a medical evaluation is at least a start.
Right.
And then you hope that the schools and social services get involved to find out what's the underlying issues with this individual.
Do you think Calvert County schools, and no parent wants to hear that a school isn't safe. Is there any way to deter somebody who wants to come into a school with a weapon and just wreaking havoc? Is there any way to stop that other than where we are now? You've got resource officers.
We got 5 resource officers assigned to the 4 high schools and 1 supervisor who's sort of roaming.
Right.
And those, so there's a marked police car parked in front of that school.
Okay, well, that is a deterrent.
I would think so.
That's a big deterrent.
What about as far as in the wake of all of this? Are you guys getting together to try to come up with different plans? Dave, you can speak to this if you'd like. I mean, moving forward from this situation, I've said all along, and I don't mean to insinuate, I don't think there's anything that you can do and go, oh, if we did this, 100% safe.
Right.
Nobody has to worry again. But moving forward, what is the position of law enforcement when you're looking at these situations? What do you guys see? What should we be doing?
Yeah, we as a community, you could go ahead and pull that mic over.
Well, we're doing it now. We're talking about it. We're communicating about it. We have our school resource officers, and let me go back to the house, the problem house, if you will.
Sure, right.
Our school resource officers would have known that individual already. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right.
Our role is not just a presence in the schools. Our SROs know those kids. They connect with them. They
Talk
know
to them, right.
Right. We can say a name to any one of our SROs, and they already know the background usually on that individual. They've already met with parents. And when we have a situation, we also we just did a debrief yesterday with a parent about something that happened in school, and Corporal Glenn Libby, who supervises our school resource officers, did a fantastic job. His communication skills were exceptional, and it was a sensitive situation, but it was handled, and we were transparent about it with this parent. And at the end of the day, a bad situation turned into a good experience that we can grow from, and that's really the key.
Let me ask you this.
Body camera.
Yeah,
And that was all covered on body camera. We have body cameras.
Okay, now that's interesting. Oh, because I want to talk about that a little bit, cameras, because you guys have had some cameras on you recently with the PD Life thing.
Not anymore.
Not anymore? That's
Not
done?
anymore.
That's done.
Done.
All
Huh.
right. All right, now look, I know you guys have to be, to a certain extent, political in your answers on this. I get that. But I'm just, what do you guys, what's your gut feeling when you hear people talking about maybe we should arm the teachers? Is that good? Is it going to help you guys? Does it complicate your job? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay.
There are exceptions. The exceptions would be a 20-year military veteran coming out that has the experience and has handled weapons before. Those are the exceptions. I think we need to arm the safety advocates, that about 90% of those are retired law enforcement. They're legally able to carry a weapon now under H.R. 218. They qualify once a year with some additional training. Some of them are former troopers. I've talked to them. They're willing to carry guns concealed. And I'm proposing additional deputies for the schools. I'm asking for 2 more this current budget to put in the middle schools in Calvert County.
Okay.
But right now, in the wake of this, we've also asked all the deputies make patrol checks at the schools, sit in the parking lot, write your reports there. So we're doing a lot more visibility in all the schools in Calvert County.
Go ahead, T.
What should people do? Let me ask you this. Again, this falls into the kind of a generic question, but let's say you are somebody who lives in, we'll go with Calvert County, so you're sheriff of Calvert County. You live in Calvert County. You know there's this kid down the block, and he's just, something ain't right with that kid. And he hasn't done necessarily, it's not like he lit your house on fire, but every time you go by, he's like nailing a bird to a tree.
Which I think is against the law, T.
Well, maybe it is, man. I don't know. He's a weird kid. You're a weird kid.
Yeah,
Pick whatever
sure.
scenario
They're
you
out
want.
there, sure.
What do you do? I mean, do they call you and go, kid down the street's weird.
Or what do you suggest that the
yeah,
public
absolutely.
do?
I mean, we always say, see something, say something. That doesn't stop with anything. And sometimes these things can be innocent. You can give it to us anonymously, and we'll investigate it. I mean, we want to have these calls. I mean, we get 20, 25 calls a day from citizens on our roadways reporting reckless or dangerous driving. And about 20% of those calls are probably drunk drivers or a medical emergency, and we stop them routinely. So we encourage the same behavior with activities outside. You know, if you see something that's really unusual, let us know. You do it anonymously. You can call the 410-535-2880 number. That's the Crime Solvers number, and report it anonymously.
And it's always, you know, when you're trying to protect schools or, as they say, quote unquote, soft targets. We just had Sheriff Cameron from St. Mary's County on last week. We were talking about places of worship. Are you concerned about soft targets like that, places of worship? Have you talked to clergy in Calvert County about that? We do not have a lack of places of worship in Southern Maryland.
No, we addressed that right away on the last incident. I reached out to the churches. My own church, I carry my gun to church all the time, and I encourage all deputies to do that. All people that are legally able to carry a weapon under H.R. 218 or other law enforcement in Calvert County to carry the weapon to church. Just, I guess, make sure your pastor knows that. We've had several safety meetings with churches about how to respond to an active shooter drill, probably 8 to 9 so far. And we're asking everybody to call us. We'll come in and say what you should do.
What does somebody do all of a sudden? They're in a place of worship or they're in a classroom, okay? They're kids listening on the bus right now going to school and teachers going to school. Active shooter, that's not firecrackers, that's a gun. What do? They are in a classroom or in a hallway and they hear that. What is the best way to protect themselves against that active shooter?
Well, we're teaching run, hide, fight. That's what they're teaching right now, and there's something else they're adding to that. But the schools have done their own drills, and I don't think many teachers seem to be happy after this last forum I went to. But they're taught, get the kids in the classroom, huddle them down. That's what they're taught in the schools now. Now, we need to keep thinking about that. Is that the best way? We need to do that, but that's what they're teaching right now.
Okay.
Run, hide, fight.
What do you think teachers are unhappy about? I mean,
well, I think some of them were talking. This is just a recent forum I attended about not all the doors will be able to be locked from inside.
See, why can't we just do that?
Well, I think that's going to be a big discussion coming up about fixing that.
I know I'm comparing apples to oranges.
You can go to the hardware store and get a doorstop, rubber doorstop too.
I know I'm comparing apples to oranges, and in fairness, I acknowledge that. But I always go back to 9/11, and one of the first things that happened was they're like, look, we're going to harden the cockpit doors so people can't get to the pilot. Why can't we have metal doors, at least solid oak doors or whatever in the classroom, and some kind of bar device that they could deploy that it would at least be hard to get through?
Because it costs money. And costs money and budgets. You deal with a budget all the time, Sheriff.
Absolutely, yes, I do.
And you add anything to that, T, and there's no money. Budgets are so tight as it is. You're talking about a lot.
You think that's what it is here?
Well, I think that money is going to become available this year. I mean, I think this is such a hot topic, and it's so important to protect our children.
Right.
That money is going to they're going to find the money somewhere to make these improvements in the schools in Calvert County.
So they're in a classroom, block that door somehow,
shelter in place,
and hide. And that's what happened in Florida. There was a utility closet in one of the classrooms, and the teacher jammed 17 students in there and told them, to be quiet and not say anything and turn their cell phones off. But in a place of worship, just get down. A lot of those pews are made of oak. Just get down. But I'm curious about the fight aspect.
Well, if you have to, you have to.
I mean, but not kids. I mean, if there's an active shooter in the hallway,
kids.
You think
anybody's got to fight for their life? Well, no, I'm just saying it's human nature. You run or fight, fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
Yes, you've run. Yes, you've hid. But the bad guy found you. You think I'm not going to jam a number 2 pencil in his eye?
The base case scenario is the Paris movie.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When he's changing magazines or something of that.
Go.
When you know
number 2 pencil.
So, but we recently had a swatting incident at Huntington High School back in December, and we were on the scene there in less than a minute.
Now, people who don't know what a swatting incident that's when you get an anonymous call.
Yeah, anonymous call that there was a shooting going on or someone's been held hostage. In this case, it was someone with a British accent.
Who would do that?
It was, and they had a name from an individual in the school from some online gaming. So that's what threw a little more seriousness into the matter.
I gotcha.
And they called us, and they called the state police, and we all got there very quickly. We knew it was, after arriving on the scene, and the school resource officer was there, and he said, nothing's going on here.
Right.
We got the kid, his name was mentioned, talked to him, and we know pretty sure it was nothing to it, but we still had our explosive canines check the building. Just an extra few minutes to check around, make sure there wasn't anything we were missing.
We're talking with Sheriff Mike Evans from Calvert County, and of course the assistant sheriff as well. Before a couple more things before we let you guys get back to it. How did that whole thing with PD Live come about? I was flipping through the channels and damn, that's Calvert County.
That's Route 4.
What was going on there?
We've been on Speeders before in a show called Busted, and when I saw Live PD, I had a feeling they might call me because I've been involved with this producer before. And I watched it, and I said, if it shows a true example of what we're doing in Calvert County, we got nothing to hide, and we're going to show that we're not busy in Calvert County. We have a lot less crime in these other places where every traffic stop has a gun.
Right.
So they came out, they filmed with you guys for like a year?
I think it was about 6 months.
About 6 months.
And not doing it anymore. Why is that?
No, there's only so many deputies. You had that every night, every day, and we thought we had run its course. We've proved that our deputies are professional. They treated people fairly. We have very little crime in Calvert County compared to other jurisdictions.
Right.
I mean, our serious crime in Calvert County is down 50% in the last 8 years.
15?
50.
50.
Cut in half.
50.
Violent serious crime is down 50%.
Well, listen, I know you guys are going to be hot and heavy on this whole thing moving forward.
But there is you guys are having an event on March 7th at the Prince Frederick Volunteer Fire Department.
Yes.
And what can the community expect if they go to that event?
Oh, they can. If they want to speak, they'll be allowed to speak. They can learn more about what better ideas about school safety. It's going to be a hot topic for a while, and it should be. I mean, the protection of our children is priceless.
Sure.
So I know I'm going to be there offering any support I can.
Right.
And we will do everything possible. And there will be some changes. I can guarantee you there'll be some changes in the next couple of months, especially for next school year, whether it's a better facilities, locked facilities, and more deputies or school resource officers or armed safety advocates.
I really want to hear, as this dialogue goes forward, I want to hear more law enforcement people speaking out about this, because it's one thing for me to say it, but I'm probably not the guy that's going to be running into the building.
Not going to pull a Trump.
I guess our president already has a gun there. Anyway, but it's good to get that perspective from law enforcement. You guys are dealing with all the time.
You're the first call. That they call. It's 911. It's going right to your comm center.
So, yeah, I'd like to hear that. And you guys, anytime you want to come in and talk about that, or if there's something going on that you want to get the word out about that, please do let us know, because I think it's an important dialogue, and we got to do something. This can't keep happening.
No way. Can you have something to add, Dave?
Just in that vein of communication, if to the parents and the students and anybody out there who's listening, you're not bothering us, call us. If something like you were talking about, the weird kid and that kind of, if there's someone out there that you feel is just not right or it could potentially do some harm, you're not exhausting our resources. Call us so we can at least vet it out and look into it. That's what we're here for.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. This is going to be an ongoing, not just local, but national dialogue for a while. I can assure you of that. But I do like to get it, as they say, from the horse's mouth, from law enforcement.
You are the horse this morning,
You
Mike.
are the big horse.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
7:27. Let's get a check of traffic, see what's going on.